Good morning, my Florida Garden Escape channel. So I'm so excited to go over with you guys today on a few tips and harvesting some basil. So let's go ahead and get into this. Hope you guys got your coffee. We got a lot to do today. So first things first. A lot of times you start basil like this. Your basil's gonna want a good, well-drained soil. Not only will they want a good, well-drained soil, but they are also gonna want plenty of water. You don't want to soak the soil to where they're drowning in the soil, but you want to get the good soil good and wet so that way it's just good and moisture. They like a lot of humidity. They don't tolerate really hot summer days. So it is good to put them in sun, but you don't want to put them in a full sun for too long of a time period, especially during hot summers, especially if you're seeing about 90 to 100 degree hot weather. But with your basil though, once you have it going and it's pop germinated out of your seeds, your basil will start to look like this. Now, as you see here, it does have flowers at the top. Now, to push off more blooms, what you're going to do is you're going to come through here, and these small little leaves here, you're just going to pluck off. Now, with these leaves, I know, it looks like I just totally topped the plant off. But it's okay, because that's going to encourage new growth for the basil. Now these leaves you can do two things with. You can either put them back into the dirt for the basil and it'll fertilize your basil, or you can take these leaves and dry them out. And we'll talk a little bit more into that as we move through this. But let's go ahead and now move on to the bigger ones. Alright, so now let's talk about when and how you can go about harvesting your basil. Technically, once your basil is already growing, you can really start harvesting from it. If you smell the leaves, they're already a strong, sweet basil smell. So technically, you can go ahead and start harvesting from your basil. But now, I'm going to show you how to go about with a much taller basil on how to harvest it. So as you guys see here, we do have two different types of basil. This is going to be our Italian large leaf basil, and then this is going to be our basil Thai. Now they do need some haircut, so we're going to go through here and give them a bit of a trim. Alright guys, so as you guys can see, we do have some tops here. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and pluck these tops. Even as your basil gets bigger, you definitely do want to go through and pluck your basil leaves. That'll definitely encourage more growth and it'll get even bigger and bushier. Now, have a cup or a bowl or something you can harvest these leaves in so that way you can take them inside to get them all dried out. Now, once I get some of these tops off here, I'm then going to go through and cut some of the leaves off so that way it'll even encourage more growth. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go through here and cut some of the limbs off, because some of these guys are actually really too close together, and as I always encourage you guys, always prune your plants. So now what I'm going to do is, as you guys see here, I'm going to bring you in for a closer look. Alright, so as you guys see here, this one is kind of covering up this side of the plant. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to take my cutters, pruners, or whatever you have here, and you're just going to take it and cut it right there, just at a slight slant, and trim it just like that, and you're done. And then you can take these leaves and you're going to put them inside your bowl, cup, whatever you may have with you. And some of these leaves I am just going to pluck off here. Put that in my little cup here. I may have needed a bigger cup. Now as you guys see here at the top, we do have some overlap. I'm just going to pluck this leaf just like that. And you don't necessarily need to have cutters like I do, like my pruners. you can just go through and use your finger because they are so easy to take off. And I am cutting that one out of there. See, so definitely much better. Now I'm gonna go through here and cut these guys off as well. I don't want two to be in that same spot, so I'm gonna cut that one there. She's definitely looking a lot better, and we're gonna have some great basil from it, so we really can't complain. And I think, let's take a look down here. That's doing good. I'm gonna go ahead and take these lower leaves off as well. As you guys see, I'm taking quite a bit off here, and it's not gonna hurt the basil at all. It's just gonna encourage her to grow even more. So there we go. That's all I'm gonna harvest from it. Alright, now we're here at our Thai. As you can see, it is definitely growing. It's looking good. I am actually gonna go ahead and cut some of this off here. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this side one off. Just add a slant once again and cut. And there we go. And we have our basil Thai. I'm not gonna take too much off of this one, as this one is still doing great, but I do want to get some from it because I definitely need some more Thai basil. And I'm gonna do another cutting here. Good. And we're always doing it at a slant, so that way it's not open to pesticides, diseases, and things like that. And with cutting off some from your plants here, you'll definitely be creating airflow and lower its chances of catching any kind of diseases. So it's definitely a good thing to do. And I'm gonna pluck some of the leaves as well. I just love my Thai. My Thai basil is amazing. I really gotta say, if you're not growing Thai basil, definitely start growing it because it is amazing, guys. And just like with our Italian sweet large leaf basil, you can definitely just pinch the leaves off. You don't need to have any pruners with you. You can just pinch their leaves off and they'll keep growing. I promise. Alright, looky there, just a little bit off the top, not too much. Now I'm going to do another cutting here. And I'm going to come in here, right here, and cut. Just like that, guys. Add a slant, and check it out. We have some basil harvested. So now, let's talk drying your basil. You want a quick way? Or are you a patient bird and don't need it in a hurry and have time on your hands? The process of drying the basil is really going to be up to you. You have two different options. They can be overwhelming, but I'm going to keep these two different processes pretty simple for you because they are simple. A lot of people like to be a little extra and go into a whole bunch of details, but we're not going to do that in this video. We're just going to keep it simple, cut, and dry. Alright, so now we're back inside. Kids are up. We got them all situated. And as you can see, I also harvested some of my mint. So let's go ahead and take a look at the drying process. Now there's going to be two different ways you can go about drying your herbs. You can put them on a cooking sheet or in the oven for 350, and you can put it in there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and that'll dry the leaves out as well. You can also use a dehydrator that's a little bit more tech savvy, and it can be overwhelming as it does take a little bit longer time to process. Now, one method I prefer to do is wrapping my herbs in paper towel. Now, I leave my mint and my basil in the paper towel in my kitchen window to sit there for 2 weeks, and it'll sit there and dry. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I go about wrapping these guys up in the paper towel. Alright, so as you guys see here, this is 2 pieces of paper towel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the mint down onto the paper towel. One thing I don't want to do is I don't want to overlap it too much, because if you overlap it, you could end up holding moisture in the leaves, and they could end up get mildew and mold, and you not be able to use them. So now I'm just going to lay this flat over it, just like this. And I do each section differently. Now as you guys can see, it is pretty fluffy. I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in half. And then we're going to set it in our window for it to dry for the next 2 weeks. Now I'm going to also do the same thing with our basil. Now as you guys can see here, I have a big old roll. So we're just going to do a section at a time with each different leaf here. So let's go ahead and start first things first with the basil tile. As you guys can see, I'm just going to lay it flat here, right on top. And actually, we are going to dump this cup out, so that way we can get to our leaves a lot better. And I'm going to go ahead and get these guys in here. Now I'm not going to overlap them, as you guys will see, because I don't want the leaves to get any mildew or mold on them. So I'm just going to separate them just like this. And as you can see, it's kind of spread it out on the paper towel, not all clustered up in one area, which is what we don't want. We don't want to cluster it up, because if we cluster it, we can get mold and it won't dry right, and then we won't have any basil. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold the paper towel down over that basil right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another section. And this is where we're going to do our Italian large leaf basil. And you're just going to lay it down on here with these single leaves. I'm just going to throw them on here because they're not a full stem. And we're just going to sprinkle them through here. So as you guys can see, I'm just sprinkling just the leaves themselves on here. So that way it's not so clustered up, because like I said, if you cluster them up, you could end up having mold and mildew and they won't dry properly. And I'll also show you guys what it looks like once it's done drying. Alright, this section done, let's do the others. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what these leaves will look like once they're done drying. But before we do, we're going to leave these in our kitchen window. I'm going to go ahead and show you also how my kitchen window looks and how the drying process goes. So I have a little bit of tons of different knickknacks, so don't mind the cluster up here. But I leave them in here and we get some sunlight that comes through here. So that way the sun is actually drying our herbs. Now we'll let these sit for 2 weeks just like that. I'll check on them every so often and see how they're doing. But we're going to leave these guys here for 2 weeks. But let's check out what we've already dried. So once your herb is dried, you will see that the stem is no longer green. The leaves are kind of greenish, but they're really crunchy, dry, and they really fall apart easy. Now with this, that you can either grind them up in a coffee grinder or throw them in your small Ninja Bullet blender and grind these up. And you can also use the leaves as whole. But once they're dry like this, you can go ahead and use them in your cooking, and you're all set to go. So as you guys can see, the drying process of drying your herbs isn't that hard. It just depends on which method you want to do. For me, it works better to wrap it up in a paper towel and leave it up in my kitchen window for 2 weeks. Now, if you have already basil in your kitchen and it's not a desperate need that you need right then and there, go ahead and just put it in that paper towel. Let it dry for 2 weeks. But if you are needing it right then and there, the best method I can give you is put it on a cooking sheet with a baking sheet on that. Put it in the oven for 350 for 5 to 10 minutes and let it dry in the oven. And that'll do a quick process for you as well. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope to see you guys again. You guys keep being amazing and keep growing. And I'll see you guys next time. Deuces!